He walked into the cafe like he owned every chair, every light bulb, even the silence. Caesar Wendell Dare wasn't the kind of man you forgot. He was tall, clean-cut, sharp-jawed, dressed like Wall Street, but with a gaze that could empty your throat of words. And I was already seated, one leg crossed over the other, my phone in hand, pretending not to notice him until I felt the weight of his eyes. He stopped at the edge of my table like he'd been looking for it all his life. "Darren, Carol," he said, like it tasted good in his mouth. "Still look like trouble." I didn't smile, just put my phone down gently and looked up. "You're 2 years late, Dare. I charge by the hour now." He smirked and sat, uninvited. That was always Caesar, kicking doors open that no one heard creak, the kind of man who left without warning and came back like nothing happened. Only this time, I wasn't a 20-something journalist fumbling for her place in the world. I was 31, bruised, built, and not in the business of welcoming ghosts with good bone structure. "I'm not here to buy time," he said. "I'm here to pay for what I owe." "Oh." I leaned back in my chair. "That would be what?" 4 missed birthdays, 2 broken promises, and 1 very dramatic midnight exit. He winced. Just enough to feel human. Then he took out a brown envelope, thick as a brick, and slid it across the table. "I didn't touch it. I need help," he said, voice low. "There it is," I muttered. I was wondering when the favor would crawl in. This isn't a favor. It's business. I need someone I can trust. Then I'm definitely the wrong person. That smile again. The one that always showed up before he did something ridiculous, like disappear to Belize or break into federal data systems just for a story. Caesar was always 1 foot in chaos, and the other pressing down on the gas pedal. "Please," he said. "You're the only one who'll tell me the truth, even when it hurts." I stared at him, wondering if he really believed that. Then I opened the envelope. Inside were documents, photos, old case files, encrypted USBs, and a name circled in red. "Colby Murray." "You're digging into Colby?" I asked. "You've got a death wish or a blackmail hobby?" "She's missing," he said. "Colby Murray, the woman Caesar used to laugh with when he thought I wasn't watching. She was political muscle, dressed in pearls, known in the underground for laundering power through blood-soaked hands. If Colby was missing, half the city would breathe easier. But Caesar looked like he hadn't slept since it happened. "You think I care about her?" I said. "No. I think you care about what she was doing before she vanished. Same as me." He was right. Damn him. My curiosity was a devil with a spine. And Colby had been circling some dangerous names before she dropped off the map, including a shared associate of mine named Cletus Marks. Big guy, southern accent, alligator boots, and a smile full of lies. Last time I saw Cletus, he warned me not to poke around places I wasn't paid to be. "You're walking into hell with a blindfold on," I told Caesar. He leaned in closer. "I'm not asking you to save me, Darren. I just need you to help me burn the place down." I didn't know what shook me more, his nerve, or the fact that I still wanted to follow that voice into the fire. I slid the envelope back to him. Double my rate, half up front. His smile flickered, but he didn't argue. He pulled out a stack of bills that smelled like they'd been printed yesterday. Done. So here we were again. Me, Caesar, and a lie-wearing lipstick named Colby. I took a breath, picked up my phone, and texted one name, Cletus Marks. Because if Colby vanished, he either helped her or buried her, and either way, I was going to find out. Cletus didn't answer right away. He never did. His silence was always loud and intentional. His way of reminding you that time belonged to him. I waited 3 hours before his reply landed like a rusted knife. You shouldn't be asking. Let's meet. Same place. That meant the Carbine Room, an old bar near the docks where the whiskey was stale and the music never played louder than a whisper. It was Cletus's kind of place, private, dark, and humming with stories no one dared speak out loud. I told Caesar to stay behind, and he didn't argue. He knew Cletus liked things simple. One face, one motive, no distractions. By the time I walked into the Carbine, the air smelled like gun oil and old secrets. Cletus was already there, boots up on the table, a half-drunk glass of rye in hand, and his cowboy hat tilted just enough to cover his eyes. He looked like a man out of place, but still in control, always in control. "Well, hell," he said, without looking up. "Darren Carroll. Thought you finally grew enough sense to stay out of my side of town." I slid into the booth across from him. "I had a dream you'd say that. Then I remembered you only speak in threats." He chuckled, a slow, deep rumble that made the back of my neck itch. "So, Caesar's back in the land of the breathing." He said it like it was a joke, but his fingers tightened around the glass. "And you know this how?" I asked. "I know everything," he said, "especially when ghosts start digging up names that ought to stay buried." I reached into my coat and placed a single photo on the table. Colby, last known sighting, stepping into a car with blacked-out windows and a driver who didn't belong. She vanished, and not the off-grid kind, the someone made her disappear kind. Cletus stared at the photo, then finished his drink in one gulp. "I ain't got nothing to say about Colby." "That's funny, because you were seen with her a week before she disappeared." "That's not proof." "No," I said, leaning forward. "But you're sweating like it is." He took a long, tense breath. "Colby got in deep, too deep. She was playing both sides. Politicians, private security firms, even the feds. Someone caught on. That girl wasn't taken. She ran." "Ran where?" "I don't know," he said. "But if she's alive, she's keeping her mouth shut for a damn good reason. And if she's not, then somebody's already paid to make sure her story ends real quiet." He stood, dropped a few crumpled bills on the table, then leaned in close. Too close. His breath smelled like fire and rot. "You and Caesar got bad timing. This city's about to go through something. Power's shiftin'. Don't be caught under it." Then he walked out, and I sat there for a while, trying to decide if I believed any of it. I didn't trust Cletus, not even a little, but I trusted his fear, and tonight he reeked of it. I texted Caesar. He says she ran. I don't buy it. He responded fast. "Meet me at my place." I found something. I should have ignored it. I should have gone home, poured a glass of wine, and let the night do what nights do, stretch out and fade. But Caesar said he found something, and that meant there was still a piece left on the board. When I got to his place, the first thing I noticed was the smell, burnt plastic and metal. The second was the shattered window, glass spilled across the living room floor like ice cubes from a kicked bucket. The safe gave way with a dull click, like it knew it didn't have the right to keep secrets anymore. I opened it slow, cautious, half expecting an alarm, a tripwire, something explosive. But all it had was a small drive, 2 vials of clear, liquid I couldn't identify, and a note in Caesar's handwriting, folded sharp. "If I'm gone, don't go to the police. Don't go to the press. Go to Colby's father." I stared at the words like they'd been written in fire. Colby's father. That name hadn't come up in years. Gerald Murray, the kind of man who operated in shadows so thick, even the FBI whispered around them. He used to run contracts for international security firms, mostly off the books. And when Colby got her seat at the table, Everyone assumed it was through her own teeth and charm. But now, I wondered how many of her steps had been guided by blood and debt. I copied the files from the drive and left the rest. Heart pounding. Caesar's apartment looked like a warning. Papers scattered, furniture overturned. Whoever came here, they weren't after valuables. They were after silence. I didn't have long before they realized they missed something. I drove straight to the address I remembered from Colby's old personnel records. Her father's cabin in Crestwick. Pines, just outside the city. An hour away. Secluded. Surrounded by trees that whispered like they had eyes. The drive felt longer than it was. Each mile layered with what-ifs. Gerald opened the door before I could even knock. He looked older, grayer, but still dangerous. Like a wolf who didn't need to bare its teeth to remind you they existed. He wore a heavy wool sweater and had a hunting knife on his belt that looked too clean. "You've got 5 seconds to explain why you're on my porch," he said. "I'm looking for Colby," I replied. "And maybe Caesar Dare." His eyes narrowed. He opened the door wider. Inside, the cabin smelled like cedar and old cigars. No photos on the walls, just weapons, guns, blades, a framed blueprint of something that looked suspiciously like a satellite relay system. "You're Darren Carroll," he said, as we sat across from each other at a table that probably knew more government secrets than I ever would. "And you're not nearly as surprised to see me as you should be." "I know Caesar," he said. "Knew he'd dig back into this. Then maybe you know who's got him." Gerald leaned back. "You want a list? Start with the same people who came for Colby." "She's alive?" I asked too fast. He didn't answer right away. Just lit a cigar. Took his time with it. "She's not dead. Yet. But she's in deeper than she knows. Thought she could flip on the people she worked for. Sell them out. Save herself." "Why?" Gerald exhaled smoke through his nose. "Because she started to grow a conscience. That didn't fit. Not the Colby I knew. But maybe that's why it made sense. She had something," I said. "Caesar found part of it. A video." Gerald flinched. Just a twitch, but enough. "You saw it." "Not yet." He stood, walked over to the fireplace, and pressed something behind the mantel. A panel slid open. Another safe. Another secret. He pulled out a small black drive. "This is the original. What Caesar had was a copy." He handed it to me, then added, "You watch this. You don't come back here. You walk away. That's the trade." I nodded, tucked the drive into my jacket, and left. Back at my apartment, I played the video with shaking fingers. It was grainy, time-stamped 6 weeks ago. A warehouse. 3 men in suits. 1 woman, Colby, and a body, face down on the floor. Someone was speaking off camera. "The deal's done. If she talks, she joins him." The camera turned. I froze. Cletus. Marks. Smiling, standing over the body. And then another voice. Familiar. Cold. Impossible. "Caesar, get it done. We don't have time to clean this mess twice." My breath caught. My stomach twisted. He wasn't investigating this. He was part of it. And now I didn't know whether I was trying to save Caesar. Stop him. The video kept playing, but I wasn't really watching it anymore. My brain had gone numb, like it shut off a few switches to protect me. Caesar's voice echoed in my ears, long after the screen went black. "Get it done. We don't have time to clean this mess twice." Cold, calculated, not a man looking for truth. More like a man trying to bury it with precision. My first instinct was denial. This couldn't be right. Caesar was reckless. Yeah, arrogant, definitely, but complicit in a murder. Helping Cletus. The same Cletus who nearly spit venom when he mentioned Colby's name. Nothing about it fit. Unless everything I knew about Caesar was a lie, and maybe it was. I replayed the video, slowed it down. There was something in Caesar's eyes, tightness, like he was being watched. His shoulders were stiff, jaw clenched. That didn't look like a man in charge. It looked like a man being used, or threatened. And then I remembered what Gerald said. She started to grow a conscience. What if Caesar did too? But that meant one thing. Someone was pulling strings on both ends. And if Cletus was the knife, then someone else was the hand. I made 2 calls. The first was to a contact of mine, Finn Rayner, cybersecurity rat, brilliant with code, and too broke to say no to cash. He owed me one anyway. Need a trace, I told him. Fast. On what? Caesar Dare's last known location. Phone. Anything. I don't care if it's a grocery receipt. Just find him. He grumbled, but agreed. The second call took longer to dial. I sat there with the number, on the screen, thumb hovering, heart tight. Then I hit call. Colby's burner. We used to have a code. A dead drop voicemail. She'd check only when things got hot. I never expected her to pick up, but she did. 3 rings. Jesus Christ, came her voice. Is that really you? Colby. Silence. I was told you ran. I said carefully. I had to. What did you do, Colby? She sighed, tired and small. I tried to fix something. That's all. But they don't let you walk out with a piece of the truth. They come after you. They came after Caesar too. He helped them, I said, flatly. No, she snapped. He made them think he did. He's been undercover, Darren. Deep. For months. He fed them information to keep me alive. And then he vanished. My throat went dry. You're saying he's trying to protect you. He's trying to protect everyone, but he got caught in between. And if they know he's broken rank, he's already dead. I felt the floor shift beneath me. Who are they, Colby? Who's running this? She hesitated, then whispered one name like a curse. Gerald. Everything went quiet. My father runs it all, she said. He's not who you think he is. He made me do those deals. He built the blackmail, the bribes, the bodies. Cletus was his hammer, but Caesar, he found out, and now Gerald wants to erase every trace. She was crying now, softly. I didn't even know Colby could cry. I need to disappear again, she said. I can't be found, not even by you. Where's Caesar? I don't know, but if Gerald has him, he won't be in the city long. He doesn't keep loose ends nearby. Then she hung up, and I was left holding a phone full of ghosts. Finn called back 20 minutes later. Got a ping, he said. Dare's phone was powered up for 3 minutes about 6 hours ago, near an airstrip in Sanderfield. Rural, private, coordinates. Sending now. But you better move. If he's there, he won't be for long. I grabbed my bag, loaded, the drive, the note, the photo, threw my gun into the glove box, just in case. I didn't trust Colby. I didn't trust Gerald. And I didn't know if I still trusted Caesar. But I was going to that airstrip. One way or another, I was going to find him. Sanderfield wasn't the kind of place that welcomed strangers. It was quiet in that eerie, empty sort of way, like the whole town was holding its breath. One gas station, one diner, a rusted water tower with peeling paint and a message that used to say, God bless America, but now just read, Go bless Am. The airstrip sat at the far end of a dirt road, hidden behind a locked gate and a chain-link fence that had more holes than links. I parked the car behind a line of scraggly trees and walked the rest of the way. The place looked dead at first glance. No planes, no movement, just a metal hangar that had seen better centuries and a communications tower that probably hadn't. Buzzed in years, but looks lie, especially in this business. I watched the building for a while, 20 minutes, maybe more. Then I saw it, a flicker of motion through a cracked window. Too fast for a guard, too careful to be a repairman. I approached the back entrance, sticking close to the shadows, heart low in my chest. My gun was in my hand now. I didn't remember pulling it. The door wasn't locked. That was the first red flag. Inside, the air smelled like sweat and old fuel. A row of lockers lined one wall. There was a desk near the corner, papers scattered, a flickering light above it, like something out of a bad dream. But what caught my attention was the blood, a streak of it, dried, dragged across the concrete floor and vanishing behind a closed door. I followed it, gun up, breath shallow. The door creaked open, and there he was. Caesar Wendell Dare, tied to a chair, blood on his shirt, lips split, eye nearly swollen shut, but alive. He looked up when I stepped in, and for half a second, all that bravado I'd known him for cracked. His mouth twitched, and then he smiled. Because of course he did. Took you long enough, he rasped. I moved fast, checking his binds. Are you hurt bad? Just enough to look heroic later, he muttered. I looked him in the eye. Caesar, why didn't you tell me? About Colby, about Gerald. I couldn't, he said. They were watching everything. Calls, emails, even in-person meetings. If I'd told you, they'd have killed us both. Then why come back? Why start this all over? Because I found out what Gerald's building, he said. And if we don't stop it, a few dead bodies will be the least of anyone's concerns. He motioned toward a table across the room. A laptop, still open. A blinking drive plugged into the side. Take it, he said. Everything's on there. Contracts, payments, flight logs. He's not just cleaning up Colby's mess. He's creating new ones. Government officials, foreign assets. Gerald's building a private leverage empire. He's going to use it to run entire countries from the shadows. My stomach dropped. And Cletus? I asked. Caesar's jaw tightened. He's running security, keeps things quiet, and he's not alone. A noise stopped us both. Footsteps, more than one pair. I grabbed the drive, shoved it into my pocket, and spun towards Caesar. Can you walk? Try me. I helped him up. He hissed through his teeth, but didn't collapse. We moved fast, out through a side exit, ducking through a maze of rusted equipment until we reached the trees. 2 men entered the hangar behind, us, armed. Too late. We ran for the car like the ground might explode behind us. By the time I peeled out, tires screaming, Caesar was slumped in the passenger seat, breathing like every inhale cost him. You're out, I said. We've got the files. We go public now. But he shook his head. We can't. Not yet. Why? Because the last person who tried ended up in the video we watched. He turned to me, face hard despite the bruises. We need to hit Gerald where it hurts. Not with proof, with leverage. I looked at him. You mean Colby? He nodded slowly. We find her. We turn her. And then... He leaned back, closed his eyes. We end this. We drove through the night, not talking much. The silence between us had weight, like an old coat you didn't want to wear, but couldn't bring yourself to throw away. Caesar drifted in and out of sleep, wincing with every pothole. I didn't. Ask if he was okay. I knew he wasn't. Physically, emotionally, maybe even morally. Around 5 a.m., we stopped at a rundown motel off Route 78, the kind of place where the walls were too thin, and the staff didn't care who you were, as long as you paid cash. I parked around the back, away from the cameras, and carried Caesar into the room myself. He didn't argue. That's how I knew he was hurting worse than he let on. Once inside, I locked every bolt and chain I could find, then shoved a chair under the door handle, just for good measure. Caesar lay on the bed, eyes half shut, while I pulled out the drive he risked his life for and plugged it into my laptop. Files opened like a virus, hundreds of them, each one tagged with names, dates, transfers. Gerald wasn't just blackmailing politicians. He was selling their secrets to the highest bidder. And Colby, her signature was on at least a dozen of the deals. She wasn't just a middlewoman. She was complicit. But there was something else. Hidden in one of the folders was a video file, encoded with a password. I tried all the usual. Colby's, birthday, Caesar's, even Gerald's rumored military ID number. Nothing worked. I was about to give up when Caesar mumbled from the bed, "Try 11-19-07. I looked at him. Why that? It's the day she tried to run the first time, back when we were just kids, and Gerald caught her with a bus ticket to Phoenix. I typed it in. The file opened. It was a meeting, private, high level, Gerald, Cletus, a woman I recognized from Capitol Hill, and Colby. She looked terrified, smaller somehow. Gerald was speaking. "You don't get to back out, sweetheart. You work for me. You owe me. And if you try to disappear again, I'll make sure no one remembers your name. Understand?" Colby nodded slowly, lips tight. Cletus laughed and lit a cigar. "You raised her good G. Just enough spine to be interesting." I paused the video and looked at Caesar. He was watching now, jaw clenched. "She was in deeper than we thought. She was a prisoner," he said softly. "Just like I was. Only she didn't have a way out." I sat down next to him. "So, what now? We've got the files. We've got this video. We leak it. Gerald goes down." He shook his head. "No, Gerald's a cockroach. You stomp him in one place. He crawls out in another. We need to destroy the whole operation. Clean, loud, and public. And Colby. We get her to flip. She knows the rest of the network. Names, routes, everything." I hesitated. "She's in hiding. She doesn't want to be found." "She'll come to me," Caesar said. "She still owes me a debt." I frowned. "A debt?" He looked at me, eyes dark and distant. "She's alive because I sold her soul. I made a deal with Gerald to protect her. I said I'd work with them, play along, just long enough for her to get out. And you think she'll forgive you for that?" "No," he said. "But I think she'll understand it." I stared at him for a long moment. There were so many things I could have said. That he was reckless. That she'd probably shoot him on sight. That none of this would bring back the parts of us that died the night he vanished. But instead I said, "We'll need help." He nodded. Slowly. "There's a name," he said. "In the files. Look under Project Ember. You'll find him." I opened the folder and saw it. A name I hadn't heard in years. Martin Lero. A rogue intelligence officer turned whistleblower. The man disappeared 5 years ago after exposing an arms deal between the US and a foreign regime. Word was, he'd gone underground, off-grid, paranoid, dangerous. "If Laro's still alive," I said, "he might kill us before we finish our sentence." Caesar gave a tired smile. "Then we better say something worth dying for." We didn't sleep that night. We made a plan instead. Because if we were going to light a match this big, we had to make sure the fire couldn't be put out. By the time the sun bled across the motel's dusty windows, we were already in motion. Caesar had managed to stand on his own, though he moved like someone stitched together with wire. Every step was stiff, but his mind, God, his mind was sharper than ever. I could see it working beneath the bruises, every thought forming a blueprint of revenge. Martin Lero was our next step. The problem was, finding a ghost wasn't as simple as checking a map. But Caesar knew where to start. He used to run through a dead drop system in Easton. Last one I tracked was in a pawn shop off 6th Street. We make contact there. Leave the right kind of message. He'll come to us. And if he doesn't, I asked, then he's really dead. And we go in blind. We drove straight to Easton, a broken city that always felt like the future had given up on it halfway through construction. The pawn shop looked abandoned. Boarded windows, cracked tile across the front steps. But inside, it was running, barely. A bell chimed as we entered. A heavy-set man with nicotine-yellow fingers glanced at us, then went back to flipping through a sports magazine behind the counter. I stepped forward and laid a small flash drive on the glass. I'm here for the VHS tapes. He paused, stared, then without a word reached under the counter and slid over an old Walkman tape recorder. Leave the message, he muttered. Caesar leaned in, hit record, and said, Martin, it's Caesar Dare. You said once that if the wolves came back for me, I should call. Consider this the call. It's Gerald Murray. It's bigger now. Government big. Need eyes. Need teeth. Come armed. He clicked it off, handed it back, and we walked out. Now we waited, and Martin didn't make us wait long. 6 hours later, our motel window rattled once. No knock, no warning, just the flicker of movement outside. I moved to the door, gun drawn, but Caesar pulled me back. Let him come in. I didn't like it. He still didn't lower the gun. Martin Lero stepped in, wearing a faded trench coat and a stare that looked straight through your bones. His beard was wild, grey streaks cutting through black like lightning. He smelled like gasoline and gun oil, and when he looked at Caesar, he didn't speak. Just walked over and hugged him, rough and sudden, the kind of hug you give a man you once buried. Thought you were dead, he said finally. I was, Caesar replied. Now I'm just angry. They sat. I didn't. Martin took one look at me and said, You the one who kept him alive? Something like that, I said. Then you're smarter than the last one. I didn't ask what that meant. Caesar handed him the drive. Martin plugged it into a battered tablet. He pulled from inside his coat. His eyes scanned fast. Too fast for anyone. Sane. Then he stopped, tapped twice, and let out a long breath. Jesus, he whispered. This isn't just blackmail. This is operational leverage. You realize what Murray's doing, right? Enlighten us, Caesar said. He's not just collecting dirt. He's creating a new intelligence infrastructure. Entire networks of compromised assets, politicians, military officials, CEOs, all looped into a private data system that doesn't answer to any government. This is privatized espionage. He's building his own CIA, I said. No, Martin corrected. He's building a better one, with no rules. He shut the tablet. I can expose this. I've still got contacts. Ex-agents, journalists, foreign correspondents. But we need to hit hard and wide. One story won't be enough. We have to flood it. Make it so big, so loud, they can't bury it. And for that, Caesar said, We need Colby. Martin nodded. She's the key. There was a beat of silence. She's in 7, I said. She called me once. Used a burner I traced. She'll be gone soon if we don't move fast. Martin stood. Then let's go get her. But just as he turned toward the door, a sharp crack split the air. Gunfire. The window behind us shattered. Martin hit the ground first. I dropped next to Caesar. Blood pounding in my ears. Second shot. Closer. I reached for my gun as Caesar shouted, They found us! I peeked out the corner of the curtain. Black SUV, masked shooter, silencer on the barrel, and the unmistakable look of hired killers who didn't miss twice. I pulled Caesar toward the back as Martin covered us, gun drawn, eyes alive like he'd been waiting for this war his whole damn life. We burst out the back door into the alley. My car was there. Thank God. I shoved Caesar inside as bullets cracked into the concrete near my feet. Martin slid in the back, firing 2 rounds through the window as I sped off. None of us spoke for a while. Not until we hit the freeway, air tense, with gunpowder and adrenaline. Then Martin leaned forward. "You know what this means, right?" I nodded, knuckles tight on the wheel. "They know we're coming," I said. "And they're scared," Caesar added. "Which means we're close." We didn't stop. Not for gas, not for food, not even to breathe properly. 7 was 4 hours out, and I drove like the devil himself was gripping the rear bumper. In a way, he was. Gerald's people wouldn't miss a second time. Whatever. Leash Colby was still tied to. Gerald was yanking it now, and if he couldn't pull her back, he'd cut the cord completely. The safe house Colby was using was tucked between 2 abandoned farmhouses, off a gravel road no GPS dared to acknowledge. We arrived just past midnight. Fog clung to the fields like a secret, and even the moon kept its distance. Martin scouted the perimeter, while Caesar and I approached the small wooden house. 1 light was on inside. I knocked once. No answer. "Colby, it's me," I called out. "Darren." A pause. Then the door cracked open. She looked thinner, tired. Her hair was pulled back, face bare, eyes wide and afraid. Not of me, of the world outside me. "You weren't supposed to find me," she said. "Yeah," I said quietly. "And you weren't supposed to turn into your father's pawn." She flinched like I slapped her. Caesar stepped forward, face bruised, but calm. "We need your help. The operation's exposed. We've got files, videos. We just need your voice." She shook her head. "You think it's that easy? I talk, and the world just believes me." "No," Caesar said. "But they'll listen, and we'll back it up with evidence they can't ignore." "I'm not the girl who knew where the bodies were buried," she said. "I dug the holes. I wrote the checks. I ran interference. People are dead because I didn't say no soon enough." I stepped in closer, lowering my voice. "Then say no now." She stared at me, then at Caesar, and finally nodded. "I still have the access key. The real one. The one Gerald doesn't know I copied. It's encrypted, hidden in a data vault, overseas." "Can you get it?" Caesar asked. "I already did," she whispered. "Just in case." She turned, walked into the house, and came back with a small silver keycard and a piece of paper. "This has the decryption pass and the backup. Link, uploaded, and everything's out. Names, locations, timestamps, all of it." She handed it to Caesar, then looked at me. "I don't get to walk away from this, do I?" "You're already running," I said. "This time maybe run toward something better." Martin reappeared at the door. "We've got company. Black SUV, just hit the tree line. 1 minute out, no more time." Caesar tucked the drive into his jacket. We split. Martin and I head for the broadcast point. "You and Colby, take the backup. If we don't make it, drop the files anyway." "Understood." I hated it, every part of it, but I nodded. "Go." We moved fast. Separate cars, separate roads. Colby and I hit the highway, while Caesar and Martin veered north. Half an hour later, we were 1 mile from the backup server, when Colby turned to me, voice shaking. "You think they'll kill him?" I gripped the wheel tighter. "They'll try. But do you think he's ready to die for this?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "I think he already did. Now he's just making sure it meant something." The server point was a nondescript building behind a fake real estate office. We used the credentials Colby provided, passed 2 guards who didn't even glance at our faces, and reached the terminal. I loaded the keycard, typed in the password, and waited. The screen blinked once. Then the upload began. It took 7 minutes, longest. 7 minutes of my life. When it was done, the room was silent. Colby was crying. I didn't say anything. Outside, I got the message from Caesar. Just one word. Done. News hit in less than an hour. A coordinated leak, planted to hit across 5 major outlets. Video, documents, voice recordings. The web exploded. Gerald's name was everywhere. Warrants, investigations, countries cutting ties. He disappeared within a day. No one's seen him since. Cletus was found dead in a river, shot twice in the back. Colby took a deal. Immunity for full testimony. She lives under protection now, somewhere far, far away. Caesar? He didn't come back. I waited 3 weeks. Nothing. Then, one day I got a postcard from a beach I didn't recognize. No return address. No message. Just a smiley face drawn in ink. Next to the initials, CWD, and below it, scribbled in shaky handwriting. Goodbye came cheap. But you were always worth full price. I smiled and burned the card. Some people haunt you by leaving, others by surviving. The end.